You're listening to GWP Live. I'm your host, Jacob Fulmer. It is Tuesday, March 10th, 2026 here, and it's 11:05 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and we are tracking some ongoing severe weather here across the country. Of course, we did a GWP weather update just a couple hours ago. We were talking about how there was quite a bit of active weather around the country just overall. We might take a look at some of that just depending on if we have some downtime or if things um, appear to be quieting down just a little bit, or if we just want to get some perspective on some other things. So we'll see if that ends up happening. But our main focus tonight is going to be that severe weather going on here across the state of Missouri. We'll also focus a little bit on Kansas since that's where the severe weather is right now. And then, of course, we've got more thunderstorms to the north of us here across northern Missouri. So, first of all, just as kind of a reminder, that enhanced risk was added for this area. So that was one of the big changes that we've had recently, is that threat for severe weather did increase just a little bit, particularly for that hail risk. So that was one of the big changes since our last update. Of course, earlier today we talked about the highest tornado risk is going to be across Illinois, although I think we are starting to drop off a little bit. This is going to update at 1 a.m. and I'm expecting our moderate risk to be removed. I wouldn't even be surprised if the enhanced risk went away at 1 o'clock. So we'll have to see whether or not that happens. But either way, we do have an enhanced risk for severe weather for tonight across the area. Again, as we talked about, tornado risk is highest across Illinois and Indiana, but we are all in that hatched region where we could be looking at, we're in that 5% category. Now, we've also got that hatched region for the possibility of strong tornadoes. What is strong tornadoes? Well, we're talking about EF2s or stronger. So you'll notice that there's three intensities. There's a significant intensity number one, there's two, and then there's three. One is what we're in here across Missouri. That's for EF2s or stronger. And then the second one right here, which includes Illinois and parts of Indiana, you'll notice this area is outlined by kind of those like lines that are going from top left to bottom right. So that right there, that's your enhanced risk 2 that we have. And so that is for EF3s or higher. And then once you get into where the lines are going both ways, you have solid lines both ways, that's your third intensity. We don't have that today, but that would be for EF4s. So this is kind of a newer thing that the Storm Prediction Center has been making more use of and more public so far this year. Again, as we mentioned, that hail risk has increased here across the state of Missouri. So this is going to be over the next couple of hours. I would say after about 1 or 2 a.m., that's when our severe risk is going to be pretty much over with, and then we'll just go to heavy thunderstorms. There will be some areas, just like we saw on Friday, or at least there weren't a whole lot of areas that didn't see any rain, but there will be a few areas that don't see really any rainfall out of the storm system. But where we do have it, it's going to be heavy. We could be looking at some areas picking up 1 or 2 inches of rain, and that's why we do have that marginal risk for flooding across the state of Missouri as we go through tonight. So now I want to turn our attention more towards the active severe weather that we do have. So this is our line of thunderstorms that we have. And so if we were to, and so these are the thunderstorms that are going to affect us here across Nevada. Eventually these will move further towards the south. I don't know if they're going to make it to Joplin. I don't think so at this point in time, just based on what we're looking at. And these storms overall, they strengthened a little bit while they were across southeastern Kansas. They also stalled while they were in Kansas. They were there for quite some time, and that's why we have these flash flood warnings along Interstate 35. Those areas saw some really heavy rainfall. Several inches of rain within just about an hour or two. So those storms have been stalling. These storms have also been stalling. They were north of this Highway 36. They were kind of up in this area. Now they've started moving a little bit further towards the south. They're still a ways off from Columbia or Jefferson City. And although there is some rain being picked up on the radar in this area, we don't have any, at this point in time, I don't have any reason to believe that any of this is reaching the ground. This is where the main action is going to be. But again, even this, we don't have severe warnings on at this point in time. So that is good news. What if we looked at all hazards? Oh, and I guess that is something Yeah, so of course, I sent out the post earlier tonight, tornado watches along Interstate 49 until 4 a.m. So that is something new. We will likely see severe thunderstorm watches across the rest of the state of Missouri later tonight, maybe going until about 7 or 8 o'clock. I don't want to make any guesses on what the National Weather Service is going to do, but just something to keep in mind. But first, got a little sidetracked with that. But first, going into this here, so we've got this special weather statement. So winds of 40 miles per hour. So again, not a whole lot. Let's remove that. Not a whole lot of damage will likely happen out of any of these storms. So tornado threat is pretty low. Wind risk is a little bit, I would say, low to moderate. And then hail risk is about low as well. So these storms, they're going to continue to move their way further towards the southeast, eventually getting into Columbia. And then, of course, we've also got to watch this line of severe thunderstorms as it continues to move its way towards the southeast. So this is really our severe risk. Of course, we talked about how there was the possibility earlier today of some pop-up thunderstorms during the evening. That didn't really happen here across the state of Missouri. And so that's really what our concern was with the tornado risk. It is still possible that we get brief rotations within this line of thunderstorms. Like we got a little bit of rotation trying to form here. Nothing tornadic, but it could at some point in time. So we'll just have to watch along this line. So along this line, that's where our highest risk is going to be for anything severe. We've got this severe thunderstorm warning to the north of our area. So this goes in effect for Bates County and Cass County to our north, as well as into Kansas. We're talking about 60-mile-per-hour winds. That's going to be the main risk. And so 60-mile-per-hour winds, that's the minimum threshold for a severe thunderstorm warning. And just for some context, what sort of damage can 60-mile-per-hour winds do? Well, any winds between 58 and 74 miles per hour are considered severe winds. They can tear down trees, uproot trees, and rip off shingles. So those are the kind of impacts that you're looking at when you're talking about 60-mile-per-hour winds. So they're not necessarily life-threatening. Now, if you were outside, yes, 60-mile-per-hour winds would be very dangerous. But as far as inside, you're probably not going to have a whole lot of damage. Again, some damage to shingles, some siding, definitely some trees could come down. And so that's why it's going to be dangerous for you to be outside. But as far as like entire structures are not going to be leveled by this kind of wind, unless it's like a small shed or something. But houses and mobile homes, they are going to be all right. So this is not necessarily tornadic winds. You don't need to take shelter in a tornado safe place when you're dealing with 60-mile-per-hour winds. But again, some damage is certainly going to be possible where we do have that severe thunderstorm warning. So then we've got another severe thunderstorm warning just to the west of our area, so west of Fort Scott. And so this also goes for 60-mile-per-hour winds. This is 12 miles southwest of Yates Center, or at least it was at 1047. These are continuing to move east at 55 miles per hour. So if they continue to move east, they would make it into Fort Scott and Nevada. So again, this line is going to affect us very soon. I would say definitely within the next hour, more than likely. They're about 30 to 45 minutes from getting closer, but about an hour is how long we have until these storms are going to move into our area. Now, are we going to see any damage? Again, it's possible. It depends on if we still have those 60-mile-per-hour winds by the time these storms make it there. There's no confirmation that we've had those 60-mile-per-hour winds, as right now it is a radar indicated threat at this point in time. And it looks like that we did just lose that severe thunderstorm warning to the west of Fort Scott. And so this is certainly good news because this means that we are losing our severe weather threat with these storms. And so these storms are on a weakening trend at this point in time. So that is definitely some good news here. So we just had an update at 11:07 p.m. Central Daylight Time. The thunderstorms were located along a line extending from Lewisburg to Lynn Valley to near Mound City. Again, these are continuing to move east at 55 miles per hour. So based on what we're looking at, this portion of the line is what's producing the strongest strongest winds, which means we have the greatest risk for damage in this area, and that appears to be moving towards our north into Rich Hill, into Butler, as well as into Adrian, Hume, Pleasanton, Mound City as well. So I guess the good news is that this is moving into an area where the population is relatively low across this area. None of these are really super populated areas. I mean, I guess you have Butler that's a little bit more populated, Pleasanton and Mound City, maybe a little bit, but overall, very low population across this region. And so that is certainly good news. Of course, Vernon County and Bourbon County also have low population, but it is just a little bit higher. And of course, it does protect us here in the Nevada area. So that's something we're watching. Again, all of these storms right now are not severe warned. So that is certainly good news. I mean, at this point in time, it's certainly looking like that we may not have any severe storms. Again, these could re-strengthen, but it's not likely that they will. But we'll continue to watch that over the next couple of hours. These storms to the south of Interstate 44, these are ones that we really need to watch. We've got a couple of tornado warnings at this point in time, and then we got this ginormous severe thunderstorm warning across eastern Oklahoma here. Let's take just a quick look at that for just a second. So we've got so it looks like, so we've got radar indicated, so no confirmation of any damage at this point in time. This looks like it's west of McAllister, so that's US 69 here. So it looks like along and just to the west of that. 70-mile-per-hour winds is what we're looking at. So considerable damage is going to be possible. So we have considerable threat tag with that severe thunderstorm warning. And then we've also got a couple of tornado warnings, just looking a little bit closer at these. So this one is just to the northwest of McAllister. And so the good news is that one actually just expired. So that is good. So this one expired. What about to the southwest of McAllister? We do still have a tornado warning. This one is still active until 11:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. We've got a radar indicated rotation. So you need to take shelter in your tornado safe place in the lowest level, most interior room. That's where you need to take shelter. These are continuing to move to the northeast at about 60 miles per hour. So certainly could get on the south side of McAllister. So that's kind of where this is going. And once again, we're dealing with an area that overall is pretty rural, not really a lot of people here. So that is certainly some good news. But if you are in this area, certainly something that you need to pay close attention to. We did have some heavy rain earlier today across the Fort Worth and Dallas area. So we do have a flash flood warning. This goes in effect until tomorrow at 12:45 a.m. And so again, some flash flooding is going to be possible. This is a radar indicated threat as well. So turn around, don't drown. If you see water over the roadways, that means you need to turn around. So it means that it is dangerous and you should not pass. So and then of course, if you see a barricade on the road, do not drive around it because that is not a good idea either. So you would not want to do that. So we've got severe thunderstorm warnings across Illinois and Indiana. So this is that secondary area, if you want to call it, of severe weather. This is where we have, again, that highest tornado risk. But at this point in time, it does seem like that our tornado threat has gone down. Looks like we have some pretty heavy storms just to the southeast of downtown Chicago. So we're watching those. And then we have flash flood warning in some of those areas that we've got some heavy rain. Grand Rapids, Michigan, we've got some flash flood warnings there to the northwest of Lansing. So that is something else that we're tracking. All of this over here is winter weather. So we've got some snow. Reduced visibilities are going to be possible, especially in these heavier bands of snow across Nebraska. So that's something else to keep in mind if you're going to be traveling north. Again, this is what I would call a very dynamic storm system. There's a lot of modes of weather that we're talking about with this storm system. So that is something to keep in mind, is that it's not just that threat for, it's not just the risk for severe weather, it's also the risk for winter weather to our north, and as well as strong winds here across the Rockies when we're looking at those weather alerts here. So again, pretty large area. Again, our alerts at this point in time, it seems like that we've come down quite a bit. So now we're down to one tornado warning at this point in time. So let's see, we've got 5 severe thunderstorm warnings, and then we've got 6 flash flood warnings. So we've got 12 active alerts at this point in time. So our number of alerts has gone down. So of course that is certainly some good news. And look at that, we just lost our severe thunderstorm warning that was to the northwest of Nevada and Fort Scott. So that is definitely good news. So at this point in time, across our immediate area, we do not have any severe alerts at this point in time, aside from, of course, that tornado watch that remains in effect until 4 a.m. But as of right now, things are looking very good. These thunderstorms are weakening at this point in time. Again, that could change. But as of right now, it looks like we are doing good. And it is for that reason, we're actually going to go ahead and we're going to end the live stream. So make sure you stay safe out there this evening. But again, at this point in time, we don't have any severe thunderstorm or tornado warnings across Kansas or Missouri. This is certainly a good sign, but we'll have to continue to track these storms as they get closer to our area over the next several hours. But again, overall, that severe threat is starting to go down.